What's an encounter with a celebrity you've had where they were an absolute dong? Back in the 90s I worked on the stage musical production of Beauty and the Beast. The guy who played the talking clock is an Australian celebrity by the name of Bert Newton. He always used to say hi and make conversation, and today I learned he found out I was one of the lighting crew. After that, he wouldn't even glance at me. Slightly related. On the same show, I used to hang out with the dude that played Gaston at stage door having a ciggy during interval. I only recently discovered that it was Hugh Jackman. Really nice dude. Hugh Jackman seems genuinely the nicest person in Hollywood. Sorry Tom, I said it. Cuba Gooding Jr. cut in line ahead of me and my sister for a pretzel at Disneyland. We were 10 and 8 years old, respectively. How good was he in Snow Dogs though? This goes both ways. I ran into Kirstie Alley 25 years ago, when Veronica's Closet was on. She was quiet, but sweet. People came up and wanted photos, but she was with her kids and politely declined, citing her kids. Nearly everyone acted like she had slapped them and turned them down, but she was calm and gracious. Kinda made me sad. I guarantee that half of these stories are caused by fans being dongs and expecting their hero to respect their crazy fandom. Ran into Pierce Brosnan while on vacation in Hawaii before Daniel Craig took the role of James Bond. He was in a gift shop and we bumped into each other. Out of surprise I pulled out my finger gun and shot him in classic Bond fashion, right in the gut. He staggered back and held his stomach, slowly dying in this gift store in front of me. As a 12-year-old it was the coolest thing ever. I was sitting in the lounge in one of the big music studios in Hollywood, and Bruno Mars walks up, looks at me, and says, "Where the frick is my cab?" I looked at him and said, "Who the frick are you?" I really had no idea who he was. Hut up. But dude did act like an absolute dong. Nicest guy ever. Billy Ray Cyrus. The studio had a policy that you're never supposed to touch the food any of the artists order or bring in, and you're especially not supposed to take any home. As I was leaving he slipped me 2 huge meat and cheese trays out the door when no one was looking. As an intern trying to make it as an audio engineer, that sustained me for almost 2 weeks. I like that Billy Ray Cyrus story. I wasn't spring loaded to expect good things from him, but that was really nice. Dude's close to Dolly Parton too, and she's an absolute angel. Probably 10 or 11 years ago, I was working BTS of a WWE house show. My job was to find the contest winners and bring them to introduce them to a couple of the bigger stars. My immediate report went to Ricky Steamboat, who was incredible. I had a question for him, don't remember what it was anymore, but he was standing there talking to Chris Jericho. Not wanting to be rude, I stood to the side, waiting for their conversation to end before I interrupted. Jericho stopped mid-sentence, looked at me and said, "Are you freaking lost?" When Ricky turned around to see who Jericho was talking to, he recognized me and was super pleasant and answered my question. But Jericho was pissed and thought I was a groupie or something. Chris Jericho is quite an unpleasant man. Used to work at a Hard Rock hotel. Mariah Carey was the absolute definition of a freaking diva. She used a bunch of employee passageways and we were instructed that if we looked her in the eyes we would get written up. We were also told that we had to immediately vacate any room that she entered, even if we were in the cafeteria on break or in the bathroom doing our business. She's an asshole on top of that too. A few of her backup dancers accused her of sexual assault during Me Too and nothing ever came of it. I've seen the whole "can't look them in the eyes" thing a few times and similar threads, and it just freaking baffles me someone can be that self-righteous they feel that other people don't have the right to make eye contact with them. Think Dr. Phil may have been another one? Frick those cunts. Met Naomi and Winona Judd at a meet and greet session at Kmart corporate headquarters. I had a Kmart store planned from their hometown for them to autograph. Winona was a complete uber bitch. She scribbled her name on it and then crunched up the paper and threw it at me with some sarcastic comment about rednecks and hillbillies. Then her mum Naomi took the paper, gently smoothed it out and told me that it was the most thoughtful thing she had autographed all day. Very nice and genuine woman. How are those two blood related? Reversal story. Once worked for a large movie company. I was pissed off and at the end of my workday, so when I saw an open elevator not crowded with folk as I was leaving, I quickly got in and pressed my floor number when I heard a thick voice behind me, sounding a bit far away, saying, "Hold the door." I pretended not to hear given it mood. Doors are closing and I turn. That's when Schwarzenegger's pissed off face appears behind the slit between the ever closing doors. "I asked you to hold the door," then they shuts in his face and the elevator went down. "I'm so sorry T800. I met Woody Harrelson at health food store. I didn't realize it was him. We were talking in line. At first I thought he was being an asshole, but it turns out he is actually a really cool guy. He has a way of talking that sounds like he's being condescending and sarcastic. I've noticed it in interviews, but he isn't actually being a jerk." Don King. I didn't recognize who he was and asked for his ID so that I could check him into the hotel. When I looked up from the computer screen, the look he was giving me made me turn completely cold. I genuinely thought we were seconds from this guy reaching out and grabbing me to hurt me for daring to not recognize him. I am not a big person and he is a very tall man. Fortunately, a co-worker who did recognize him intervened and took over the transaction, giving him what he felt was the proper amount of ass kissing. After that point, as far as he was concerned, I no longer existed. Super rude, but the anger and malice in his expression when I hadn't recognized him just left me grateful to have him turn his attention away. I think he did say something along the lines of "Don't you know who I am?" but I honestly don't remember it. I just remember the look on his face. I've dealt D-list celebrities and plenty of sports stars who pull the "Don't you know who I am" card all the time, and I'm generally just amused by it. This was something else altogether. He creeped me the frick out. My uncle works at a Vegas casino. None of the Kardashians or Jenners tip anyone. Ever. He was with them for over 3 hours and didn't receive a dime and was treated like total garbage. Scott Disick, however, is a great tipper and great guy all around. Scott comes off as the biggest dong on TV and media. That's surprising. 1. 3 true, 1/3 brutal honesty, 1/3 editing to make him look bad in comparison to the family. I met Chevy Chase many years ago. Everything you've heard is probably true. I'm Chevy Chase and you're not. Oprah didn't tip me on a $200 lunch. Instead, she signed a napkin for me and acted like she was doing me a huge favor. The kicker was when she walked in, they gave away all of my other tables, so she didn't have to wait for anything. So I made $4 for 2 hours for the privilege of serving Oprah, and she goes on and on about signing a napkin for me that I never asked for. You get a napkin. And you get a napkin. Everybody gets a napkin. Mid-90s. Worked at a golf course that was so exclusive not even Michael Jordan could be a member. The day was very rainy and the course was closed to everyone except the foursome Jordan was in. He ran late. The other 3 started without him. He arrived. They loaded his clubs on the cart. I was standing probably 50 feet away as he was getting ready to leave and meet his group. No one else around. There was nothing for me to do since no one else was on the course or the driving range. I'm not gawking or anything, just kinda marveling at how tall he is. They don't look so tall on TV. He calls me over. "How can I help you, Mr. Jordan? Can I have that towel?" "Of course sir, thanks. I knew you were good for something." Nice. For those asking, EGC and Skokie, ill. I wasn't implying he wanted to be a member, just that he wouldn't be allowed, because they were racist. He's well known for being the biggest donghead ever. I worked at the MGM Grand in Vegas. He wouldn't so much as tip a cocktail waitress a $1. He's known as Hoarding Jordan, and let's not forget his buddy no tippin' Scottie Pippen. I remember a night when Wayne Gretzky insulted Michael Jordan at the table. It was a private salon game. Michael had ordered a drink from the cocktail waitress, and he gave her a $5 chip. Wayne took it off the cocktail waitress's tray, gave it back to Michael, grabbed a $100 chip from Michael's stack and put it on the cocktail waitress's tray. Then he said, "That's how we tip in Las Vegas, Michael." According to Rich Strafella, a VP and longtime gaming exec at the Hard Rock Hotel in Las Vegas. This will forever be my favorite athlete story ever. Wayne Gretzky is one of a handful of people in the world who could possibly have the balls to pull off a power move like that on Michael Jordan. Barbra Streisand wasn't a dong, she was a total and complete cunt to every stagehand working her show. Frick her. Not me, a friend of mine. He worked on Looper in New Orleans. It was a very common occurrence where Bruce Willis would wander off of set, a call would come over the walkie, and various PAs would be sent to scour the area to find him. My buddy found him in a bar, sheepishly approached him, and said, "I'm sorry to bother you, Mr. Willis, but they're calling for you on set." Bruce Willis looked up at him and then proceeded to just keep drinking. I think it was a G&T, like he wasn't even there. My buddy had to walk outside, radio in that he had found him, and wait for someone with a higher pay grade to come and wrangle him back to set. Topher Grace tried to eject me and some friends from a table at some bar in LA. The bartender refused to ask us to move, so he got huffy and left. Sorta my fault, but I met a well-known gay Brit celeb in a gay bar. I was there because a girl I had a crush on and who had just had a bit of a breakup wanted to go with a drink without being hassled by men. She didn't know that I fancied her, but anyway I offered to take her, as a friend, out for a drink or two, and she said she wanted to go to a well-known gay bar in town. Anyway, this celeb came into the place, and she got all excited and asked him for autograph and photos and was generally being a little bit of a nuisance to him. Sure, he just wanted to have a drink without this, but he was cool about it. I was totally drunk at this point, and wanted to thank him for being cool about it, so I, a straight guy, went up to well-known gay celeb in a gay bar and asked if I could buy him a drink. He just looked down at his nose at me, disgusted, and said, "I don't think so."